all morning long. You're going to be impressed with people that you're going to remember these people for a long time to come. Probably some of them you'll remember forever. We have a gentleman that's going to be coming to the stage this morning that is an author. He's a broker owner with Exit. He was his prior company before joining Exit and buying into the company, and by the way, he did an incredible amount of homework and looked at every single company out there. They had that goldish coat. He's inspired so many people. Funny story, actually, Dean McCormick, he's from Central Texas. Dean McCormick, one of the regional owners in Central Texas, sent a book to myself, Erica Gillio, and Steve Morris. Unbeknownst to us, we actually bought books and sent them out to other people, some of even the same people without even telling each other, because it impacted us so much and inspired us so much with the stories that are in it. He is going to impact you in an incredible way. We are so fortunate to have him as part of our company, so fortunate to have such a positive influence right here with us. He'll inspire you, he will touch your soul. Please, a warm exit welcome for Mr. Dan Castro.
My name is Dan Castro, and I am a former Century 21 broker. Thank you. I want to start off by thanking Dean McCormick. Dean, stand up, please. Dean is responsible for bringing me and my lovely wife Rose into the Exit family, and we couldn't be happier. We've been part of the Exit family for about 4 months now. We're already growing, and it's my goal to take out Century 21 from all of Austin. We've got them down to 1 broker, and within 9 to 12 months, we hope they'll be gone. And we are actively recruiting every one of their agents. We've got several people that are just on the fence, just about to join us. So we're very excited. Thank you, Dean. Thank you, Exit. Thank you, Steve. Today I want to talk to you about how to take back your focus in troubled times, because we're living in some troubled times, aren't we? They say we're living in the worst recession since the Great Depression. The worst recession since the Great Depression. But I'm here to tell you that this recession ain't nothing compared to the Great Depression. Not really. The Great Depression was mean and big and bad and ugly. The unemployment rate during the Great Depression was 25%. What is it now in America? Somebody tell me. It's about 9.5%, 10%, right? Well, that means that 90% of us are employed. I don't know about you, but when I was in high school, if you got 90% on a test, that means you got an A. Right? So America gets an A in the employment department. I think we're doing pretty good. And if you know somebody that's unemployed, you can help them get a job. You can recruit them into the Exit system, right? You're not just in the real estate business, you're in the employment business. You can teach them how to make money. Now the cool part about the recession is they say that the average price of a home has dropped by about 30%, right, nationwide. Interest rates are the lowest they've been in about 30 years. So what does that mean? That means the real estate industry is having a sale. It's the Foley's Red Apple sale. 4 years ago, how many investors did you have come talk to you and say, I'm looking for a price for a house that I could get for about 30% below market value? And you just laughed. Well, now that's where you are. You should be selling more real estate now than ever before. And if you're not selling more real estate now, you should be buying more real estate now than ever before, because now's the time to plant those seeds that are going to grow and prosper in a few years to come. They say you should never let a good recession go to waste. Never let a good recession go to waste. But despite all these advantages and opportunities out there, some of you guys are working twice as hard for half the money. You're working twice as hard and making a lot less money. Why is that? I think part of the reason may be because the tools that always brought you success in the past are no longer working. Why? Because the situation has changed. They were good tools, they always worked in the past, but the situation has changed and therefore they're no longer working. A few weeks ago I came out of my house and noticed my right rear tire was completely flat. And I thought, well, no big deal, I've changed plenty of flats in my life. No problem, right? So I went to the trunk of my car, got out my little jack, it's about 6 inches tall, right? The kind that come with the car. And I stuck it under the car, and it was then that I realized that I had a problem. You see, my driveway sits on a hill that looks like this. So I stuck the jack into the car, started jacking the car up, and the car wanted to roll back. I thought, well, that's a problem. So I did what any normal person would do. I just tried it again, right? Stick the jack into the car, jack it up, and the car kept wanting to roll back. I did it 2 or 3 times and had the same result. The car kept wanting to roll back. So I stood back and I thought, well, this is going to be a problem because I had to be somewhere early the next morning, and it was getting late, and all the automotive shops were closed. So I thought, well, I'm going to apply a little Mexican ingenuity. And all I need to do really is level out the jack, right? Because the jack's uneven. So I looked around and I found a rock. Yeah, get a rock. So I stuck the rock under the part of the jack, leveled out the jack, jacked the car up, the car kept wanting to roll back. And I thought, well, that's weird. I thought I solved the problem. Level out the jack, right? And then I go, oh, dummy, the rock's round. Of course the car's going to want to roll back. The rock's round, so look around for something flat. I need something flat. Tiny piece of wood. Yeah, that's flat. Okay. Stick the piece of wood under the jack, jack the car up, the car kept wanting to roll back. Well, why is that? I stood back and I realized that the piece of wood is on the same incline as the whole driveway. I'm a genius, what can I say? And it's getting later and later, and I thought, well, that didn't work, that didn't work. And then all of a sudden, in a flash of the obvious, it occurred to me, you know those big giant hydraulic jacks about this big, and they have a big stick that comes out of them, and all you do is press down that lever and it lifts the whole car up? Well, I didn't have one of those. But I remembered that they existed, right? So I thought, where in the world can I get one of those? At 8:45 at night, all the automotive shops are closed, so I thought, maybe Home Depot. So I drove over to the closest Home Depot. Sure enough, they had one. Apparently they have everything at Home Depot, or Lowe's. Sorry. It just happened to be a Home Depot, I'm sorry. Anyway, you should go to Lowe's. I'm sure they have them at Lowe's. My name is Dan Castro. I am a former century attorney. So I bought this big hydraulic jack, drove it back home, stuck it under the car, pressed down on that big giant lever, lifted the whole back end up, and changed the flat tire in about 10 minutes. And I stood back, and I looked at my little rock, my little piece of wood, my little 6-inch jack, and my big hydraulic jack, and it was as though the universe were trying to send me a message. And the message was, in life, maybe the tools that always brought you success in the past are no longer working. Why? Because the situation has changed. And the same may be true for you. You're doing the same things that always worked in the past. You're sending your just sold cards, you're sending emails, you're sending your handwritten notes, you're doing all the stuff that Joe Stumpf talked about yesterday. But you're still not making as much money as you used to. Why? Because the situation has changed. So you have to change with it. You have to change your beliefs and your outlook and your whole concept of what kind of business you're really in. What kind of business do you think you're in? When I ask my own agents, what is it that you sell? Instinctively they say, well, real estate, dummy. You're the broker, you should know that. And I say, no, you're not selling real estate. All you have to sell is yourself and your reputation. That's all you ever have to sell. When I bought my franchise 5 years ago, I thought I was going into the real estate business. But after about a year, I realized that I wasn't in the real estate industry at all. I was in the relationship business. And so are you. My dad got into the real estate business at the worst possible time in the early 80s. Interest rates were about 18%. How many of you guys remember those days? It was nuts, right? 18%. But my dad succeeded. Year after year, he was in what they call the $1 Million Club because he sold more houses than anybody in his company. But that's because my dad knew he was not in the real estate industry at all. He was in the relationship business. And I remember so many Saturdays he would drag me out of bed and say, son, come here, we gotta go mow this old lady's yard. And I would go, why? Why can't she mow her own yard? And he would say, because I'm trying to sell her house, we gotta make it look good. So I go mow her yard, you know. And the next Saturday, he'd drag me out of bed and say, son, come here, we got to go clean out this old lady's garage. What about our garage is a mess. Why are we cleaning out somebody else's garage? Because, son, I got to sell her house and got to make it look good. And the next Saturday, he'd drag me out of bed and say, son, come with me, we got to go paint this other lady's house. Why, Dad? Because I'm trying to sell her house, we got to make it look good. See, my dad knew he was not in the real estate business, he was in the relationship business. And that's why when interest rates were 18% and it was one of the worst recessions during that time period, he succeeded year after year after year. What kind of business are you in? We have an agent by the name of Bonnie Brotz. She's about mid-50s. She had closed the deal on a Friday afternoon. She was happy, she got her check, went home, she was chilling. And about 11 o'clock that night, she was in her pajamas watching TV. And her phone rang. And it was her client, the client she had just sold her house to. And they had a problem. You see, this is one of those buyers that barely has enough money to close the deal, right? They have to bring money to the table, and they've tapped out every piggy bank that they have with their cousins and their friends, and they're done. This is it. It was about 11 o'clock at night, and they had rented a U-Haul trailer to try to move into their house, and the people that had volunteered to show up and help them move didn't show up. And they had to have the U-Haul trailer back by the next morning, by 8 o'clock, or else they were going to have to pay for the whole weekend, another couple $100, which they did not have. So they called Bonnie at about 11 o'clock on a Friday night in a panic, saying, Bonnie, what do we do? What do we do? So Bonnie jumped in her car, drove over there, and from about 11:30 till about 2:30 in the morning, she helped them unload their whole moving van. Now, does Bonnie have a friend and a client for life? Absolutely. That next year, that same client sent her about 6 referrals, and she closed every one of those deals. And they continue to send her referrals year after year after year. Because Bonnie knows that she's not in the real estate business, she's in the relationship business. It's time for you to change the tools that you used to use, the ones that are no longer working. Not to any fault of your own, it's because the situation has changed. It's time to change your attitude, your belief, and your concepts about life. It's not about the money, it's about relationships. And if you're trying to build your business, you need to take a step back and start trying to build relationships first. Because that's where your business is going to come from. That's where your referrals are going to come from the next 10 and 20 and 30 years down the road. What kind of business are you in? What is it you have to sell? All you have to sell is yourself. And I understand that we're in a recession, and I understand that you can't stop those negative messages that keep pounding your head from Twitter and email and Facebook and the radio and TV and newspaper. It's everywhere, right? Unemployment's up. Foreclosures are up. We're headed towards the second dip of the double dip recession. It's like a bad song that gets stuck in your head. You guys ever had a bad song that got stuck in your head? You can get rid of it. Happens to me all the time. I have 2 daughters. When they were teenagers, we used to play tricks on each other. So when they'd get in my car, I'd have to take them somewhere. I'd lock the doors, turn off the radio, and I'd start humming a song I know they don't like. Or if I was really being mean, I would actually sing the words. Like, go shorty, it's your birthday. We're gonna party like it's your birthday. Go drink Bacardi like it's your birthday. And we don't give a beat because it's your birthday. And I would sing it over and over and over until my daughter Rachel would want to take that kid shorty and go, we don't care, it's your birthday. It's not your birthday anymore. And about a half an hour later, she'd call me and go, Dad, you did this to me. I can't get that stupid song out of my head. But sometimes they would take revenge. And sometimes I'd find myself singing some stupid song like, don't break my heart, my achy, breaky heart. I just don't think you'd understand. And I go, Rachel, you did this to me. And she'd go, paybacks are hell. And when I think about these things, I wonder, how do these songs get stuck in our heads? And more importantly, how do we get them out? How do we get them out? Because that's how bad news works, right? You see, our 5 senses are like magnets. We're constantly picking up input from the external environment, things that you did not invite into your head. It's a survival tool. It's the way we were designed. It's the thing that keeps us alive. We're constantly picking up information, even though we didn't invite it into our heads. You know what the most expensive real estate on the planet is? You guys are realtors, right? You know a little bit about real estate? What's the most expensive real estate on the planet? It's right here, in your head. Everybody is constantly trying to take up occupancy in your brain, right? And you have a choice of whether to let it stay there or not. They're not asking your permission. In fact, one day I was explaining this very phenomenon